This video is on simplifying radical expressions. A radical expression contains a radical, such as a square root. The expression under the radical sign is called the radicand. For example, in the radical expression square root of 3, 3 is the radicand. To simplify a radical expression means to write it without any perfect square factors in the radicand. To do this, we're going to use the product property of square roots, which says the square root of the product a times b is equal to the square root of a times the square root of b. Let's take a look at a couple examples. First example says simplify the square root of 28. Well, I can rewrite the square root of 28 as the product of its perfect square factors, square root of 4 times the square root of 7, and the square root of 4 is a perfect square, which is 2 times the square root of 7. So simplified, that would be 2 square root of 7. When looking for perfect square factors, refer to the list of perfect squares that you created at the beginning of this topic. To add two radical expressions, their radicands must be the same. So for example, simplify 2 times the square root of 3 plus 5 times the square root of 3. It's as though I were saying I have 2 square roots of 3, and I'm adding to that 5 square roots of 3, so that's going to equal 7 square roots of 3. Sometimes you will need to simplify a radical expression before adding or subtracting them. So for example, simplify 2 times the square root of 48 plus 3 times the square root of 108. So I'm going to simplify 2 square root of 48. That's equal to 2 times the square root of 16 times the square root of 3, because 16 times 3 is 48, plus 3 times the square root of 36 times the square root of 3, because 36 times 3 is 108. So square root of 16 becomes 4. Square root of 36 becomes 6. And so now I can multiply these numbers. I have 8 square root of 3 plus 18 square root of 3. And now that my radicals are the same, I can add those to get 26 square root of 3. So here are a couple practice problems. I'd like you to stop the video now and try these on your own. Okay, let's take a look at these. So this says simplify each radical expression, and I have the square root of 147, and I realize that that's equal to the square root of 49 times the square root of 3. Square root of 49 is 7, so simplified this is 7 times the square root of 3. And then here I have 2 times the square root of 80 plus 3 times the square root of 45. So I'll simplify each of those radicals first. So I have 2 times 80 is 16 times 5. So the square root of 16 times the square root of 5 plus 3 times 45 is 9 times 5, 9 being a perfect square factor. So square root of 9 times square root of 5. And this becomes 2 times the square root of 16 is 4. Times the square root of 5, plus 3 times square root of 9 is 3, times the square root of 5, or 8 square root of 5 plus 9 square root of 5, which is equal to 17 square root of 5. So in this video we took a look at how to simplify radical expressions by finding perfect square factors in the radicand.